All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tina Voisey, and I am the Education Manager at Toby Dynavox. I support our team of account managers. I have with me today Joe Narayan Singh, who covers sort of the
Northwest. Yeah,
northwest. So
Northern
we see a
everyone.
bunch of you from Blackpool on this session today may already know Joe. So good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm a teacher with over 25 years experience, and though my accent doesn't sound very local to Kent, that's where I'm based, and I have been for the past 16 years working in the assistive technology field. So today's 30-minute session is looking at the Boardmaker Student Centre. I see a lot of familiar names. Those have been coming to these series of webinars, and those I've met back in the good old days when we could do face-to-face training. Um, if you're new to Zoom, we have a chat button. Some of you have already found it to let us know where you're from and what technology you're using to engage your learners. Feel free to chat questions at any time. If it comes to mind, ask a question in chat. Joe's going to keep an eye on the chat. He will answer the questions that he can via chat. And when I take a break to ask questions, he'll let me know some of those that we need to kind of share with the wider audience. We're expecting a pretty decent crowd today. So if we don't get to, or I can't answer all of your questions, I will follow up in an email. You will get a copy of this PowerPoint that I am presenting today. It'll be in a PDF format filled with tons of links so that you can carry on and rewatch little videos or see tutorials so you can recreate what you've seen me do today. I am going to go quickly. We've only got 30 minutes, so it's not meant for you to keep up and do what I'm doing as I'm doing it. It's really an introduction for you to be able to then go and replicate it yourself. Some of you have already participated in a few of our previous webinars. This is one in a series. If you haven't been to any other before, a great one after using the Student Center are actually the two upcoming Core First Learning and Reading Avenue. If you're interested in ready-made curriculum, particularly that which might focus on literacy skills for your learners, and also creating interactive resources really plays very nicely with the Student Center. And of course, we're running a few others as well. They're all free to join. They're all 30 minutes long. So please, we hope to see you again on future webinars. So as I said, I'm Tina, I'm the one here in the middle, and I support our team of account managers. We are going to give you information as to how you can contact your account managers in the follow-up email. Please do get in touch because they are there to support you. Um, they can do more detailed training with you because we are going quickly today. They can look at access needs for you. I know some of you are talking about supporting kids who are using eye gaze, who are using switches. And also, if you're using Boardmaker as a segue into a more robust communication system, they can help you with that too. So they're there to help you. They're at the end of the phone, webinar, and hopefully sometime soon in person too. So let's dive in. Using the Boardmaker Student Center, which is one part of the Boardmaker Online full system. So some of you are already using the editor. You've been to webinars or you know how to make printed materials. I think that's where it starts for most of us when it comes to Boardmaker. But you may have ventured into creating interactive resources, a wonderful way to include your kids who can't pick up a paper and a pen or hand a laminated piece of paper over to someone. And today we're going to learn how we then deploy these interactive resources out to make them accessible to our students, either using a web browser or an app. This is all part of your Boardmaker system. And we're going to show you how you do it. It's absolutely perfect for the situation we're in at the moment, supporting learning from afar. So this is a way that you can set things up at your home office and deploy it out to your learners, whether they're back in a school environment or at home. We do have future webinars that will talk about ready-made curriculum, like Core First Learning and Reading Avenue, which you then, again, deploy out through the Student Center in a very similar fashion as to what you'll see me do today. So we're going to look at two different ways to get the Student Center. There is the web browser. So you have to have a constant connection to internet. You can go on any Windows or Apple computer and use whichever browser you like. So whether it's Chrome or IE, whatever. So that's one way to get your resources that you've created in front of your learners. Another way to do it is for them to download this free Boardmaker Student Center app, which they can do for iPads and Windows devices, as well as any Tobii Dynavox devices. And that includes if they're using a Windows device with a Tobii Dynavox eye tracker, because I know some of you have talked about eye gaze in your comments. So we're going to work our way through that. The nice thing with the app is they don't have to have a constant internet connection. They need to connect to the internet to get the resources from Boardmaker Online down into the app, and then they can turn off their internet connection and they can go around town, they can be in the car, they can do whatever and still be able to access the app and the resources that you've assigned to them. So the Boardmaker Student Center app actually has two different parts. There is a free stuff area, which has a lot of pre-made content. There's some great games. If you're working with kids who are using alternative access, there are some fantastic games, both access games and emerging games that are great for them to practice eye gaze or switches or head mouse. There's also a number of other samples of resources that we have in Boardmaker Online, as well as a few other games and things. The assignments area is the stuff that you have created or you have chosen from our curricula to assign to your learners. So this is the personalized stuff. Everyone who's got the Boardmaker Student Center app, not on the web version, but on the app, gets the free stuff. If you have a Boardmaker Online account and you assign things out, that's where it will be found for your learners. And I'm going to pick through this further along. So this is what it looks like. It's a very simple interface. They get thumbnails of the resources you've made for them. They can access the menu independently using whatever access methods they're using, and then choose what they want to play, and then go ahead and engage in those learning opportunities. And the Boardmaker Student Center app is fully accessible. So anything you make in Boardmaker Online, anything you make in the editor, you assign to the Student Center, and then the person using it chooses which access method they're using. And that will remain until they go back and change it again. So every activity that they open will then remember that they're using gaze interaction if they're using a Tobii eye gaze tracker, or they're using scanning with a two switches in a certain way. So all of this will stay with them as we assign work to them. And they can use any type of access method. Most of the templates and things you can make in Boardmaker Online will work with all access methods. You might want to check out a few of them. There's a few that maybe if your kids don't have drag and drop skills with eye gaze or a few other things that might be a little bit difficult, but the vast majority you're going to be able to use with touch, mouse, switch, and eye gaze. And depending what type of account you have is the amount of student accounts you get to make. So I've seen that there's a parent on here. You probably have a personal account. So this is going to allow you to make a playlist. So for one child to be able to access activities. So personal is really meant for one person supporting one person. Then we have professional accounts. This could be for one professional who is supporting a caseload of learners. You're actually able to make up to 50 student accounts if you have a professional Boardmaker Online account. And then there's also district accounts. I see that there are people from various schools and also from various authorities in the UK. Well, you probably have a district account because you are part of, I see somebody from Fife, you're a part of Fife, and there are a number of schools in Fife who work together and have a district account, or you're from, there's another school up in Blackpool, I think is it Woodlawn? Woodlands, sorry, Woodlands and Blackpool. Well, you have a district account because you're a number of teachers supporting all of the kids in your class. So, or through your school. So you have varying amounts of access to creating student centers based on the type of account that your school has purchased or your district has purchased for you. And we can give you that more information on that in the follow-up. The cool thing about once you assign things to the Student Center is that we can track and monitor student performance. So we can see which did they open up, how did they perform. This example here is showing me that somebody was looking for the core word he, and I can see here that they could find it and they could read it, but they weren't using it very well in this sentence. So I could go back and plan. I can go back and plan intervention accordingly. So we'll go into that as well in the session. So this is where I'm going to get out of PowerPoint and I'm going to show you how this all works, both in Boardmaker Online and the Student Center. You will also get follow-up information, a 5-step guide within the PowerPoint that will give you hyperlinks to find how you can do this on your own and do it in your own time. I do see a few questions have popped up. So while I move from PowerPoint to the web browser, Joe, can you let me know what do I need to answer here?
Yeah, sure. So Claire was asking about, I've just sent a reply in the chat, but Claire was asking about a student who's got Student Centre on their iPad. When they're back at school, they won't have access to the iPad. So how can they access it at school on the computer? Is there an app, Student Centre app for that? So just to clarify, there is a Windows Student Centre app. So you could download the app and put it on the school computer, but it might be worth clarifying, Tina, that you can also access via a URL if you
Yep.
struggle to download.
The Student Center, once you make an account for a student, it's unlimited access for them. So your student, Claire, can still access it on the iPad at home, and those resources will also show up on the teacher's classroom computer if she wants to put it on the interactive whiteboard, or the desktop that that she goes to in her classroom. The students have unlimited access. They can go anywhere and log in, whether it's an app or whether it's the web browser. We don't cap that. And then their resources follow them wherever they go, as will their access method. So when your student logs into the school computer, it will say, she's an eye gaze user, and they'll look for the tracker, and if it's hooked up, off she goes. Does that make sense? Any other questions?
And yeah, Sue has asked about adding instructors to your account and whether you can, but it might be worth explaining how that works and that it's pro rata.
Absolutely. Any of you who are currently in a district account and you're coming to these webinars and everybody's using it more and more, and you need more logins for your teachers or for your students, you contact your local account manager and we can add that in a pro rata basis. So it means you're just paying from the time we add them in until the time that the initial subscription ends. So we can add that in at any time, students or teachers, not a problem.
And that's it for now, Tina.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Joe. So some good questions. So now I'm going to carry on and I'm going to show you this Boardmaker Student Center. I'm going to talk to you about how we create a student, how we assign activities to the student, how we manage those activities once we've assigned them, and then how we track performance. So as I stated, there are 2 ways to access the Boardmaker Student Center. So you can access it through a web browser. One way to get to it is if you're logged in to your editor account, as I am right now, I can go to Students and Student Center, and it's going to open another window where I can put in any student username and password that I like and log in and then see their activities. So this is a student I call Track Progress. We're going to look at that later. And there's the activities that student's using. I can also log out, and as a teacher, if I have a number of students, I just logged out of the whole thing, I think. Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry. I can also, through the students, go to my classroom view. So I have 10 students, let's say, that I have created Student Center accounts for, and I'm working on the interactive whiteboard, or I'm working on a classroom computer, and I want to invite them up and work one-to-one or in a small group. At the moment, I only have 2 students with this teacher account, but I can then go through. I have a student called Autism Show. These are examples that we show when we're at a specific exhibition. But I can work now with that student on these resources, and then I go back. I have to enter my password as a teacher, and then I can invite the next student up. So you can kind of pop around to your different students, invite them up, and work that way. It can be very effective. Okay, so that's using it through the URL, through the web browser. Here in Students, it's My Classroom or Student Center. The other thing you can do is right up here, and you know what I normally do? Let me just change the size of my cursor so you can see. Sorry, I should have done this before. I like to have a nice big cursor so you can see what I'm doing here. There we go. So right up here, next to my name, you see that there's a little cursor, a little caret. I can go to My Account. And then in My Account, I've got Student Access right there. And here is the URL, the web address that is for my account. Okay, so this is for my district account, Toby Dynavox, but you're going to have the same thing whether you have a personal account or a professional account. We all have a custom web address. So now I can send that link home to parents. All of the kids that I'm supporting, I can send this link and say, hey, Mrs. Ball, hey, Mrs. Vade, guess what? Here's your URL. Put this into any web browser, and then here is your child's username and password. So I've copied that. Ooh, let me just do that again. I've copied that. I'm just going to paste that into my web browser. I'm going to bookmark it so I don't have to do that again. And then I can put in any student username and password. And if I've provided that with the parents, then they've got that and they can access the work that I've assigned. So that's how you get it on the web browser. Then there's the second option. There is the app. So the web browser, you have to have constant internet access. But with this mobile access, which is the app, I can download here from the App Store, which is for iPad. You can also instruct parents to just go to the Apple Store and search Boardmaker Student Center. Android, unfortunately, at this point is only for Toby Dynavox devices. We have some legacy hardware called the T series that was run on an Android. So that will only work on those devices. The Indie is a Windows device. So Indie or Windows if you're putting on a Windows device. iSeries is if you are using a Windows device that's using a Toby eye tracker. So even if you're using an iMobile Plus or a PCI, you can download the iSeries app, and then that will have Gaze interaction to help you use iGaze with the Boardmaker Student Center. Also down here, you see this Get Them Started. This is going to auto-generate when you decide to an email to go home to parents to give them all of this information. And I'm going to show you where you put the parent email address in. But that will do an auto-generated email. I can click on that. I don't have any parent addresses here, but I could say send message, and it just makes a nice little email that says, here's all you need to know with your child's username and password to get them started. So that's how we get to the Boardmaker Student Center, whether it's the web browser or the app version. I'm now going to show you how we make students to assign work to. So this can vary slightly, and I know that there is a parent on here. This part where I'm creating a student does not apply to you. I'm going to tell you how you assign because you only have support for one student, for one set of work. So I'm going to show you how to assign things differently. You can ignore this part for a moment. But for any of us that have professional or district accounts, we're supporting a number of learners. We go to students and we go to student management. And here I can see the students that I have already created. I can click add now to make another student. So I would like to make a student called, because today is Tuesday, and I'm gonna give this just a number to differentiate it. So it's Tuesday, and we're gonna call this Tuesday webinar. And I'm going to check the global roster because maybe somebody else on my team, somebody else in my school has already created a student for an account for this student. So it's just going to check that roster because Joe, who works in the classroom next to me, who had Tuesday last year, might have made an account for her. So it just checks first, but here I'm good. Nobody's made an account for Tuesday. So I'm going to give her a username, Tuesday. Oops, it's already in use. So we'll call it, how about just twos? There you go. And I have to give her a password. For those of you supporting multiple students, I highly recommend that you get a system in place for usernames and passwords. So a lot of schools might use first initial, surname, and then the password is the classroom name. Do something because you're going to be logging in and out of quite a lot of students if you are supporting kids, particularly on the web browser, inviting them up to the interactive whiteboard to use it. So use something predictable. And now I decide which instructors can assign work to Tuesday. So I'm going to add myself first because I want to give her work. And then Alice, who's the speech and language therapist on our team, she's got a different set of objectives for Tuesday. So she's going to assign her work as well. And actually, I would like John to be able to have access to Tuesday because he's the OT and he's working on her access skills. So each of us are attacking it from different places and we have different resources we want to assign to this student. So now I'm going to save and close. Oh, my username. I have to come up with something else. I'll do the date, 9/6/20, Tuesday. So I have to remember that username because that's how we're going to log her in. Okay, so there is my student. Now I'm going to go to my Boardmaker or curriculum like Reading Avenue, Core First Learning, and I'm going to look at the resources that I have created. And I'd really like Tuesday to work on this visual scene. It's a great visual scene. It helps her to identify letters. I'd like her to work on that. So I'm going to go right here where there's that student, and I'm going to assign it not just to Tuesday, but also to Autism Show, because I want them both to work on it. Now, the parent that's on the call, and there may be more than one, I know there's definitely one, you're not going to assign to students, you're going to add to the playlist. You just have one playlist, one person you're supporting, so you're going to use that playlist to assign work. You're not going to use the students here, but everybody else is going to use students. And I'd like her to read this polar bear book, so I'm going to assign that. And let's go find something else for her. And how about matching animals? So these are all the things I would like Tuesday to work on. Okay, so that work has now been assigned to Tuesday. If she goes to her Boardmaker Online account on the URL, I'm just going to log out of this other student. Okay, so student login. I called her 2/9/6/20 and I've used the password pencil. No, we don't need to save that right now. Thank you. And now there's the work that I assigned her. So I can go in and access her polar bears, panthers. These are all things that start with
Penguins.
P.
Panda.
So she now has that work. If I want to change her access method because she's a switch scanner or an eye gaze user or a head mouse user, there's this little right up here. Oop, let me go back. Sorry. Right up here. See this little caret there. If I click on that, that's going to bring me to the cog to user settings. So this is where I can go in and change what access method Tuesday uses. So she uses scanning, or let's use mouse pause. So mouse pause means that she uses a head mouse or eye gaze, if it's not a Toby tracker, to be able to select things. So if I submit that, now when she wants to select something, she's just
Polar bear.
looking at it for a moment. I'm actually not clicking here. She's just looking at it. Now, if we go to the installed Boardmaker Student Centre app, which is right here, we're going to see that her access methods and all of her work is here as well. So this might be the computer at home. So I have to just go into next and I can log in here. So again, and with the app, you only have to log in once and it will keep her logged in until you want to change the user. So now I'm using that same username and password. And notice that little blue bar is because it's actually downloading it. Okay, because it's now I'm gonna be able to turn off my internet if I like and move around. So it's downloaded it. Once I've got all those blue bars, everything's downloaded, I can turn off the Wi-Fi on the iPad or whatever, and then she has access. And then we go in and we'll get the mouse pause come through here as well. There you go, see how it's highlighting? So the mouse pause will come through here and I can choose for her and then choose there. Oops, it's not doing it for some reason. Maybe this one just doesn't want to do it. I don't know. I'm failing. It should have come through. And I'm not oh, there we go. I'm not exactly sure why. There we go. It just took a second to kick in.
That's right.
Okay. So this would normally
Dog
be
goes
a
with
drag
dog.
and drop for a touch user. But because we're using mouse pause, I'm actually not dragging and dropping. It's highlighting.
That's right.
So a lot of the resources will
Cat goes
adjust.
with cat.
A lot of the resources
You
will
matched all the items.
Sorry, I don't know if you can hear that noise that's coming through, the verbal feedback I'm getting from the app. So a lot of the resources will adjust to the access method you're using. Okay, so now we've assigned all that work. We've accessed it through the Student Center, both the app and online. Now I want to manage the students' work. So I can go in to students and go to student management. So exactly how I created this student. And I can go in and I won't use Tuesday because she's only got a couple of things. But let's go, oh no, actually I will because I think I still have the Student Center open. I'll go here. And I've decided actually she's done with that visual scene. So I can just tick it out. I can say, you know what, she's done with that. I don't want her to use that anymore. And she didn't use the book. And maybe it's because it was the second on the list. So I'm just going to move that up there. Just going to move that up. And now when I open up the Student Center, oh, I had closed it, pardon me. When I open up the Student Center and go to assignments, notice it just changed it. It just took that third one away, moved polar bears in front. Sometimes you will need to hit refresh and you will need to be connected to the internet if you're using the app and have taken it off the internet previously. So super simple to manage your students' work. Again, for parents that are on here, it's just slightly different. When you go into my Boardmaker to adjust their work, you're just going to do it in my playlist. That's where everything goes because you don't have lots of students. You only have the one person you're supporting, and you can use the playlist there just like you saw me do. You can rearrange things and delete. So it's just slightly different for parents. But professional and district accounts, you'll go to student management. And then lastly, I want to see how my students are performing. Some of our activities, our interactive activities, have this P, which means performance tracking. If you've come to our webinar about interactive resources, I explain this. If you haven't, we've got another one coming up. So please join us and we talk about the difference between performance tracking and regular interactive resources. So I can go and see how my students are doing. So I'm going to go back to students and student management. And this time, that's the student track. I know that we've got a lot of good performance there. So I can see what has been assigned to this student. I can move it around like you just saw. But I'm going to go here to performance results. And here I can see, oh, she logged in this morning. And I can click in and I can see she worked on homophone practice. And I can see exactly how she did. Now, she didn't get this one right. It's a choice where she chooses here, H-E-R-E, or here, H-E-A-R, and she chose the wrong one. So I need to work on that. But she's got her 2 and 2 down pat, so we can carry on. Now she's read a book here. This isn't performance tracking because you either interact with the book, you open the book, or you don't. There's no way really for us to track wrong or right. But I can see she spent 16 minutes looking at this book called Planting Seeds. And I can also see that she did a matching activity about parts of the castle and it's got that spot on, so we can move on to the next thing. And all of this can be printed as well, so you can put it into their records of achievement. All right, with a minute to spare, Joe, have there been any questions that have come through that I can answer for the group?
Yeah, there was, but you already answered it. It was with regard to changing access method, so you covered that one. Thank you.
Fab. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm just going to go back to my PowerPoint to wrap up then. Let me share that. So if you haven't come to our other webinars, am I sharing my screen, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. Never come to our other webinars, please do. Great one after this is creating interactive resources. It looks like we've got one coming up on the 19th. Also, Core First Learning and Reading Avenue are great ways to get some ready-made resources that you don't have to make things, you just assign them out to your students using the Student Center. So we've got that on the 23rd or the 25th. So please do join us on any of these. We'd love to see you. Tomorrow there's one on printed resources with our colleague Alice. Thank you so much for your time and attention. You will get a follow-up email with a copy of the PowerPoint with all these hyperlinks, as well as a link to a recording to this webinar. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I'm happy to stick on. I can stay for a few minutes if anybody has any real specific questions they want to ask that we didn't have time to cover in the session. So I will end the recording, and please feel free to stick on if you like. Cheers and thanks. Have a good day.